actually. So very often I get someone give me a call, they get on my calendar who wants to know about how to start a home care agency in the state of Pennsylvania. And a couple of things I'm surprised about is that there are consultants in who work in that state who are charging a lot of, well, I don't want to quote anybody's money, just anybody's prices and say a lot. They're charging uh, to do a minimum amount of work. Pennsylvania is one of the states where you do not have to have a lot of policies and procedures with your application. And we're going to actually go over the application step by step so you guys can see what is expected and some frequently asked questions. And then I have a treat for you also that should be very encouraging. I want to go over the areas in the state of Pennsylvania that are considered, areas where you're going to get the most seniors. These are your retirement communities. These are the areas that you can go into and, offer your private pay services. And I like to encourage aspiring home care CEOs with that, because most of the time you're only focused on Medicaid. So you get licensed with your state, like a state like Pennsylvania, and then you get disappointed or you absolutely do nothing because you feel like, oh, well, I got to get Medicaid certified. Well, Medicaid is not our only bread and butter. And actually, I was conversing with an agency that wants me to help them generate more business that does 100% private pay, 100% private pay, and they're 8 figures, and they've been in business for 8 years. So the sky is the limit, and if we are doing it right, and if we are going after our ideal client or customer, then we don't only have to serve Medicaid clients. We can serve, clients that can afford us and clients that we would be just helping. So let me get started with the application. Let me pull it up. If you have any questions, please. I'm gonna put that application up here. If you have any questions, please post it in the chat first, and then I'll get to it. Okay, here it is. And I actually put this with your download. And I'm going to share my screen. So let me just walk through the application. Most people, that is an area of stress. Just walk through the application. So here, if you don't have this version of the application, I just want to show you that the state of Pennsylvania wants you to type all responses. So take that as their first requirement. They want you to type all responses. Handwritten submissions will not be accepted. So if you print something out, it's not going to be accepted. Neither are hand deliveries of the application. It must be mailed. So don't just take that as them just saying that. These are, starting off, these are their 3 requirements. Okay. So this is kind of like a checklist, and you should do it. You have to read chapter 51. And I'll go over some highlights of chapter 51. When you did the free registration for this training, the chapter 51 regulations are included. So are chapter 611. You're going to quote more things from chapter 611 on your application and in your policies and procedures than chapter 51. But guess what? They told you to read it. So let's follow their rules and regulations, because they may ask you something and you may need that later. So this one is needed more than 51. Okay. Then they want you to do a check or money order. This is how you're going to pay for your application. And this part is confusing because some places say 300 and other places say 100. And I think that's when you're doing both the home care agency and the registry. You have to complete and sign the password agreement form. I'm going to go down and show you that. This is going to be your trickiest area, one of your trickiest area, and that's a completed civil rights survey and a copy of your non-discrimination policy. So here, and we're going to go further in the application, not only do you have to complete the survey, this is the first policy that you need to have in writing, typed out, to go with your application. And you should put it as an attachment. Don't try to squeeze it in the little bit of space that they give you for your application. Then you have to complete your Sorry, my kids are trying to get me to come upstairs. You want to complete the home care agency registry licensure survey too. Now, this is a requirement that the owner or owners have to have a criminal background check within a year of the application. And they have to have a child line clearance. You should just go ahead and get this one too, okay? Then you have to complete this form, the Consumer Notice of Direct Care Worker Status form. And we're going to go over that. Required policies. So these are going to be considered as exhibits. So don't just take these as responses. These are policies that you need to have go with your application. Your completed information request, healthcare provider for license. These are 10 questions physically answered. Now, when they say physically answered, they still don't want you to handwrite them. They have to be answered, and they say you can attach extra pages. They want a copy of the owner's resume and or the administrator's resume, a copy of the Department of State business registration. So that is your LLC registration you get from the state where you registered, or your incorporation document, it'll say articles of incorporation. They want to see the breakdown. So if you have a secret partner or a silent partner, they still want that owner to go through a criminal background check. Then they would have to comply with this. So they want to see that you are an official, your business is registered, and then they want that proof of your EIN number. They want that paperwork, a copy of that paperwork. Of course, I'm just reading this right now, but we're going to go through it. So this version that I included in your download is going to make it easy for you to do this, to type all responses. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. So you can type in your name here. So I want you to take this application and type in your responses. All right. This part is pretty self-explanatory. Of course, must be an active email address. I recommend that if you don't have an official company email address, that you come up with one on Gmail, and don't use one that you use for everything. I would recommend that you just start one, even if eventually you'll have one that's associated with your website. So have a professional one that's used here. The contact person is normally the person that's completing the application or your administrator. Now, here is something I recommend here. This says days and hours of operation, physically present in office. So most of us will want to put something like 9 to 5, right? But guess what? If you want to put that you're only going to be physically in the office for, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, then don't feel any certain kind of way about it. And on those other days, you're closed. The reason why I'm saying that is because if you overly commit yourself to be there 5 days a week, then after you get licensed, you would have to change this, number one. And that is telling the state that if they want to come and do an unannounced visit on a Friday, hey, they'll be there till 5 o'clock. You want to list your geographic service areas by county. We'll go over that when I go give you some marketing data. They must be adjoining counties from physical locations of the agency. You should have a 24-hour on-call system. So I would click this. That could be you have or a special line that's used for calls for new clients, calls for client, if they want to say, cancel my caregiver, or I'm having a problem with my caregiver. So if you were confused about this, this is what that means. Here, you will be signing this. So that part is okay because you need the signature, typing in. This is the password agreement we talked about earlier, using that same email address. Civil rights survey. Okay, so I'm going to go through this a little bit, but I have policies and procedures that will help you guys with addressing these. But let me just give you a little bit of understanding. So because Pennsylvania is the only state that asks for this in a very intense way, in my opinion. So it describes the word discrimination, and on the basis of race, color, religious creed, ancestry, sex, age, handicap, as used in Pennsylvania Human Relations Act 1955. So when you read these chapter 611 or 51, it's going to give you some input of what they want there. But if you feel like you still don't know what they want, then I'm looking at one of my policies. Like I said, I have policies and procedures that I sell for that part of the application that you can get. Let me see. I was trying to give you guys an example for one of them. Okay, I'll do a different area. So this is a question. Is a non-discrimination policy which states services are provided, referrals are made, and employment actions are made without race, sex, color, national origin, ancestry, religious creed, handicap, or age. You're going to say, yes, it's in exhibit . Am I spelling right? XHIA. Because as you can see, even though I gave you guys a fillable application, you can't put that policy in this space. So if you think it's a response, then it's not. It wants to see what is your policy on it. I'll give you guys an example. Then this is the same way you would answer these other questions. Describe methods and materials used to orient staff of civil rights. So this is a big section, but as we see from the checklist, It wants you to complete the survey, and they're telling you here they want to see the discrimination policy. So know that that is a policy that you need to attach in addition to answering the questions. So don't leave the questions blank, excuse me. Okay, then you could fill this out right now. If you don't have any, if you don't have anybody that's employed other than yourself, then you're only putting yourself on the application. Then it wants you to project how many people you plan to employ and roster within the first year. You can put a simple number, you can put like 10 or you can put like 12. You don't know, but it's asking you to project. That's why it says intend to hire. Then it says describe or attach. So this is another policy, your agency's hiring and rostering of direct care workers. Please label as Exhibit A. So we got to change that. Refer to regulations. So we gotta change that from Exhibit A. Let me see. I think I have that one in front of me. An example of that. Hiring. This is probably like a 3-page. Oh, it's a 6-page policy. 6-page policy. Four. Okay, so I won't read all of that. 3. Okay. So let me take off the share. For that one question, I have a 6-page policy. Why is it that long? Because they're asking to address your hiring and rostering of direct care workers. So there is a interview process, there is a hiring process, and then there is a rostering process. So with that, you can't kind of give a quick answer. Let me see, I see something in the chat. Oh, you're more than welcome. So I was trying to see where I can. So I'll just read I'll read the policy statement so you guys can get an example, but that doesn't include like the procedures. So XYZ agency applies the process for recruitment, selection, and hiring of staff, which meets 611 requirements, equal opportunity and non-discrimination practices in accordance with federal and state law. That's the first policy statement. It ensures the safety, welfare, and protection of clients, families, and number 3, addresses the agency's current and anticipation staffing needs. So in that policy statement, sorry, why is this up here? In that policy statement, it covers the 3 things: hiring and rostering of direct care staff, and then it's going to break down how that is done. The next one, criminal background checks are required for employment. So it says describe your agency's policy. So again, that's another policy. So now we're on 3. With prohibited convictions or department aging inability determination from being hired or rostered. If attached, a label as Exhibit B. So this is pretty simple. They're telling you these 2 areas. When we get here, it wants you to label it A, B, so they can find it. Then it says attach a copy of the background results for the direct workers. Then it's saying refer to 61152. So let's go there real quick. If you guys have any questions, let me know. So I'm kind of helping you with how you would do it yourself. But if you still needed help, like I said, I have these policies and procedures already done. All you would need to do is customize them. Okay, so this is why they say read 611. This is a criminal background check section. From here, 61152. Now, one thing I would discourage you from doing is copy and pasting this whole policy, because they will say they clearly say if you need I'm not sure if it's showing that part. If you need assistance filling this out, please hire a consultant or attorney. They don't. They have it. They had somewhere where they specifically said they did not want you copying and pasting the policies directly. Sorry, trying to remember where that was. Okay, sorry, I don't see that part. But we're gonna go on. Okay, so this is a criminal background check 611.52. Again, these regulations are in the download. This is why I had you guys register. It's in the download that came with there was about 4 downloads. The application that you can fill out so that you can be in compliance of typing it out. 611, chapter 611, chapter 50, 51, and a general checklist. Okay. So it has this general rule. What happens if it's a criminal background, a state criminal background check, a federal criminal background check, proof of residency. So one of the reasons why you can't just copy and paste, like you could not just say XYZ Home Care Agency will request an individual required to submit or obtain a criminal background history to furnish proof of residency through submission of any of the following. Boom, 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 boom. You can use this as a guide, but you could not do word for word, if that makes any sense. And so then that part of this could be like a policy statement, but they would want to see how did you go about implementing this during the hiring process. How are you going to maintain the records of the criminal background check? Maintain the confidentiality of what's on the criminal background check. If they had something on the criminal background check that would cause that person to not get employed by your agency, this is what the state is saying you should offer them as appeal rights. What are the exceptions, and what applies to individuals that are employed or rostered. So see, when you're doing your responses, it may seem like, okay, yeah, I can just say we're not going to accept anyone who has a felony. Well, they still are expecting a more detailed response, and that's why they said here describe the policy for requiring background checks, prohibiting individuals with a prohibited conviction, or Department of Aging and Ineligibility determination from being hired or rostered, and attach a copy. They want to see what that looks like. So if you've done something like this before, you got started and you're like, well, I feel good about this response. One of the reasons why they may reject it is because they can say, according to chapter 611, you were not thorough. You did not cover if it's a state police criminal background check, it's a federal background check, how are you maintaining the records? You didn't cover all of these areas. And just think about it, that's just one question. So before I move on that part, anybody have any questions? And I'm going through the application because that's what I said I was going to do. I feel like the application can be just super, super confusing to people. And I don't want it to be like that for you. And since you're here and everybody else had a problem with the link, I want to make sure that you get any additional questions answered. Going once, going twice, or I'll keep going. Okay, so then the other sections are like your training program and your competency exam. So you have to include your process for competency, and they want you to show what that looks like. They have a guide, which they're telling you here it's in 61155. You should be able to go to 61155 and clearly state what that looks like. Now, the thing about 61155 that you have to be careful about is that if you're a non-medical home care agency, it may mention things about nurses, so you have to go directly to your area, like a home health care training program related to the conditions of the patient, right? They have to have a nurse aid certification, and these are the areas that you have to make sure are in your training program. Okay, and okay. This also addresses the competency if they were not trained. All individuals employed and or rostered who have direct consumer contact are required to be screened for tuberculosis. So you have to have a tuberculosis policy. See, describe that policy that addresses this process, refer to 611. So this is the tuberculosis policy here. And number 7, your consumer rights, describe or attach the policy that addresses consumer rights to be involved in the service processing planning process to receive services. They want to see that policy, and they label it Exhibit H. Then they want to see a policy for how you would terminate services. Then they want you to go through if somebody has a power of attorney or guardianship over an individual, how you would address that. They want that policy. They want a policy, it's kind of like, that will prohibit that client, is saying consumer, but basically the client, from endorsing a check over to the agency or the agency's agents, like the caregiver. It wants to see you describe that policy and according to 61157. These are additional things that you need to have included with your application. A form or other document that will show a list of services. So even if you don't have, you can use like a flyer, a brochure that will show the list of services, the hours they will be provided. You know, you can just do this on Word as well. These should be attachments, the cost of the services to be provided on an hourly, weekly basis. They want to see your price sheet. Don't worry about it. Those rates can change. They want to see the Department of Health contact information. This is pretty typical with a lot of states. They want you to be able, they want to see that you have shared with the client that if they have a problem with you, the agency, that they can call and complain. That's why they say you got to put the department hotline, the hiring competency requirements of the worker, and disclosure addressing employees or independent contractor status. That's it. You fill out this. This is one of the forms you just fill out. That was this F. All right, business structure. Now this is asking what is the description of you're the owner, you know, you're the member, you know, because some people have businesses that are managed by other people, or maybe you have a, you know, eyelash business and you didn't want to change the name. You didn't want to get a new EIN number, so you put that this is underneath that eyelash business or underneath that maid service business. So that would be a controlling, they have a controlling interest. You have to identify any persons with or entities with 5% or greater of ownership. So that's why I said if you have like some kind of silent partner that gave you some money and you guys they are on the articles of corporation, on your ownership paperwork, you have to list them here. A lot of states want to make sure that, you know, there's people or have not committed any kind of Medicaid fraud, or they could potentially reject someone who they have told that they will not give it an agency license to for whatever reason. So they reserve the right to ask for the owner's information. Provide the information requested in 1, 4, and 8 with respect to all persons and entity. They want a copy of your articles of incorporation, right? They want a copy of your bylaws. If you don't have bylaws or operation agreement, a partnership agreement, or other rules adopted for the regulation or management of the business, applying for the licensure, regardless of the name, just put not available. Bylaws normally are that if you have someone else do your like articles of incorporation, they may do some initial bylaws, but genuinely you have to go to an attorney to have like your bylaws or operation agreement or partnership agreement created. If you feel like you want to be strong in that area, you can always go get like a template and maybe online or pay for a template to fill out that information. But you could just for right now, just put you don't have it. They want to see people who have management operational authority. So you would fill out number 4. 5. You don't actually, you can put not applicable if you don't have somebody for that space. So they're just basically asking for the information. As I'm reading, a list of the names, addresses, and health care experience of the individuals who are responsible for the overall direction of the applicant. So they want to know if you have like a medical director or anything like that. The headquarters, they want to see where, if it's out of state, they want to have that address. You're going to be doing this, you'll put non-medical or personal care. Number 6. And this is about the applicant, which will be you, to complete this. They get all up in your business, basically. You can put not applicable right here in regards to charity. And that's it. Any questions before I move on? Sorry if I'm going fast. I want to make sure that I go through the application because the application is a bit confusing. Okay. So here's some things you should know. You can have a virtual office. No, sorry, you can't have a virtual. You can work from home. If you work from home, I recommend that you have a dedicated space for your home office, and because they will be able to come into your home office during the hours that you put on your application and inspect it. So one of the things that you want to make sure you have is a separate file cabinet for your clinical records, or your client records, and a separate file cabinet for your employee records. Why? Because your employee records have like Social Security information in it, and your client records have HIPAA related information. So both are like separate confidentiality things that certain people shouldn't have access to, and they should be locked. So you can run your business from home, but they just want you to know that they can do an on-site inspection that is unannounced, and they can come into your home whether you dress for work that day, you got a robe on or not. You have to accommodate them during your business hours. I gave the example of if you have like a enterprise, and some people, they want to start multiple businesses. So they initially got this one big business name, and they're going to put multiple businesses underneath that. And they want the home care business to fall underneath there. Then they recommend, and I recommend too, that you get a DBA. DBA stands for doing business as. It will be your agency's fictitious name, and then you would have to put that on that document. Who's the managing company? Like I said, if the managing company is blah 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 Lash business, then you're using the same EIN number for the home care business. The Lash business would never be on your home care license, but they do want to see that there is another company that's over this the agency that they're licensing. And they also want to make sure that any businesses that are on the application are approved through the Department of State. Everything that you need for the application is listed on the checklist that I just went over. Let me see. I'll put that actually, the address where you mail the location. There's no way to pay for it online. You have to do check or money order, and like they said, they want you to mail it, and you can't hand deliver the application. You The password agreement form does not need to be notarized for the witness signature. This is just frequently asked questions. If all of your answers don't fit into the space provided on the form, they want you to type your answers on a different piece of paper and label it by that number or that answer goes by. They don't want you to submit your application in a binder or a spiral binding. They don't want you to staple the pages. Don't place the pages in like plastic sheets or page coverings. They don't want you to include information that's not specifically requested on the application. They don't want to see an entire policy manual. So sometimes people send more than was asked, and they don't want that. They don't want your business plan, and they don't want to read or see policies that's pertaining to other that was not on this application, such as, if somebody bought policies and procedures and they got like so many policies and procedures, but that those don't pertain to the application. They're basically saying they don't want to see it. They said whatever is not relevant will be discarded. They want you to keep your application in order of how it was printed. They want it to be neatly presented to them. If you fail to complete all the forms, the application, it will be mailed back to you as incomplete. They say that you have 30 days, but we have someone on Zoom that was given some grace, a little bit more time. So we can only, I guess it's case by case. The application asks how many employees you have, but if you haven't started hiring yet, because you're still trying to open an agency by filling out the application, then you should just put 0. If you haven't hired anyone, then your answer should be 0. On the chart 2 of the Civil Rights Survey, you're required to list at least yourself. So that I'll go back to that chart. And for the consumer notice of direct care workers, you have to complete this form. 1 minute. The consumer will only initial the statement that is relevant to your agency. And after obtaining a home care license, you may apply for the waiver through the Office of Long-Term Living, but we know that some of the waiver programs are on hiatus right now, but we do have that information for that. Okay. And lastly, I'm gonna give you guys some fun facts, which is one of my favorites. Okay, so these are the best, this is also in your download. These are the best cities in Pennsylvania to start a home care business, according to the AARP, who took this survey. And they took the survey based upon how many seniors are in those areas who are in need of home care services. So we have Allentown, Altoona, Bethel Park, Bethlehem, Chester, Easton, Erie, Harrisburg, Lancaster, Monroeville, Norristown, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Reading, Scranton, State College, Wilkes-Barre, Williamsport, and York. Now, some of these cities were voted last year, 2021, as the best cities to retire in. And so they have, their population is over 65. Johnstown, McKeesport, Newcastle, 80, Newcastle is 19.3%. These are pretty high. Newcastle, Sharon, Pottsville, Chester, Reading, Wilkes-Barre, York, and Nanticoke. And then here's something you guys can check out. Thought these were really cool facts. Let me make sure it goes here. There are 214 active adult retirement communities in the state of Pennsylvania. So that means that these are people with fixed income. You know, some of these areas, they're in well-to-do places, and you know, those people will accept a private pay home care agency and their rates. So you don't have to just only depend on starting your home care agency and focusing dependently on Medicaid clients. You can get some private pay clients. And I'll tell you that private pay is on the rise. There are plenty of agencies that contact me that have been around, not for a long time. I'm not like 20 years or 30 years. Maybe I've been around for 8 years. They're contacting me and they're trying to scale higher. They're already making 7 figures and now they want to make 8 figures. So you know, you should definitely feel hopeful when you see that there is a large population in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm not sure where some of you guys are, that are in need of, the individuals are in need of home care services. And guess what? There is a senior, there's a person, an individual that turns 65 every day. May not be every day in Pennsylvania, but every day somebody's turning 65. So people are going to continue to get old. And even though we have a large amount of people that are taking better care of themselves, at some point they are going to need that assistance. So do we have any questions, comments, anything you need me to help explain a little bit more? If you need to come off mute, let me know. Or you can put the comment, put it in the chat.
I have one question. Hi.
Hey.
For the business structure, like for the first few questions, if it just was you operating the business, would you put yourself, your name there, or would you just leave it and like put not applicable?
I would, you can put your name there that you're the one managing it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, some people have like a board of directors. Some people have a management company. Some people have, like I said, another company over that. So they want to know who is making the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's you, then yeah, it's you. And now you can put it as you and the title. So you're making the decisions as the president, or you're making the decisions as the CEO.
Okay.
Okay.
All
So
right.
from what I know, if you're LLC, then I think you can only use the title of president. But if you're INC, then you can use the title of CEO, because LLCs don't have a board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one more. For the first, like for the civil rights survey,
Mhm.
when you provide a copy of that, you noted to put exhibit A, and then you would still answer the question in that block. But there's already an exhibit A further down on page number 9. So would you just put like page number 1 as instead of exhibit A?
Right. And I said I made a mistake because
Okay.
I had not gone through intently
Yeah.
the like that.
Yeah. I thought I
Yeah.
heard that, but I wasn't sure, so I
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. And like I said, the policies and procedures,
Mhm.
showing that it gives you a space to put, what they're asking for. So this
Okay.
one covers A and G and L. A and G and L. So I don't know why she did
Okay.
it like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and this is just, I pulled one. This is, I pulled one from there. So what I was hoping to do is to encourage you that you, the most of these home care agency applications are really confusing. I just so happen to know how to navigate through it because I started my home care agency a long time ago, and then you have to keep renewing your application. So you get used to, oh, okay, they're looking for this, they're looking for that. And when you change services, they want you to submit new policies and procedures. So you get used to what they're asking for, whether it's Pennsylvania, whether it's Maryland, whether it's Ohio, whether it's Florida. You get used to what they're asking for. So this was mostly to provide you with a moment of Selah, just like, okay, all right, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can do a little bit of this and then, submit it. But I do want you guys to know that when it comes to when they're saying a policy, they don't just mean a response. They want to see a step-by-step policy. And that's the area that most people just, work with a consultant on, work with someone on to develop a policy um, so that they can submit their application. A lot of these policies are not online. You can't Google the policy because what you would get is what they would have in like an employee handbook. So an employee handbook has like a policy on non-discrimination, right? But then it's going to cover stuff like sexual harassment. It'll cover things that pertain to on the job. But as we see from the application, they were continuously referencing, no, I want to see that it says this. Let me see if I can pull one up. See. Mm. Well, this one is saying the Pennsylvania Human Rights Act of 1955. So I will have to pull that one up And here, let me turn around. After 1955, I don't have all of the policies that go with this one up, so I apologize. When there are any changes in the policy, a signed and dated copy of the revised policy shall be submitted to the state survey agency within 30 days of the effective date. So you do have to do that. But you have that policy. You have the one on hiring and rostering, the criminal background check, child line clearances. If you feel like you don't want to answer that, if you're doing it on your own, you don't want to answer that, you can skip it. However, what will happen is that it just said, if you want to add it, if you decide that you want to take care of special needs children, then they're going to need that update within 30 days. Hiring people on a provisional basis, that's 5. Training program, that's 6. Competency testing, that's 7. People who have your TB policy, that's 8. Consumer rights and the planning process, that's 9. Your termination of consumer policies, that's 10. Prohibiting from assuming power of attorney, that's 11. Prohibiting from endorsing checks, that's 12. So you're between 12 and 15 policies to complete your whole application. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And just specifically because I spoke with you, Ashley, you see why I say I wasn't certain about your answers?
Yes. But to be honest, I thank you so much because you just going over this, it's a lot of information,
Mm-hmm.
but you just clarified so many questions that I had when I was completing it before. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you a lot. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sorry that so many people registered and it didn't go through, but guess what? I'm gonna say the replay, so they'll just get that. They'll just get that now. But yeah, this is lastly, I just want to say that Pennsylvania is one of those states that if you don't say I'm close this out. You should not drag your feet in submitting your application, because it's like the longer you wait, then they may have like a whole time on servicing VAs. Then it seems like more and more people are like tapping into, oh yeah, let me open up my home care agency. And some areas are becoming a little bit crowded. Don't mistake crowded for competitive, because there's a lot of agencies that will never provide the quality of care and the way that you would do it. And so you would still be able to generate a good amount of business. Always say, we looked at some of these popular cities. Let's take a city that had a 20% senior population. All you need is 100 clients to generate 7 figures. So if you keep like thinking like that, so it could be a city that has like 5 million people. I don't know how big these cities are. Okay, let me go smaller. Let's say 1 million people, right? Let's do some math. 1 million people in a city times, we're going to use 20%. So that's 200,000 seniors out of a million, right? That's 20%. But let's say out of those 200,000 seniors, only, I'm going to go real conservative, 25,000 have a in-home care need. With the amount of agencies that are out here, they still would not be able to serve that many people. So that's why there's still a good it's still a good space for you to start your home care business and be successful. So what I hope that this review of the application and the process is to give you some how to do it, and that if you do need some help, let me actually show you this too. I did this on my live the other day. Forgot. This was the last part. So in the state of let's do Pennsylvania. The median rate for a home health aide is $26. In Pittsburgh, you can charge $28. Let me choose Harrisburg. Is lower. It's $25. $28 for Philly. $27.50 for Allentown. $24 for Scranton. This is as of last year. That will be your rate. So again, if you need any assistance with the policies for the application, I do sell a DIY version of it, where you would just insert your agency's name. And as you see from the application, then it would be pretty easy for you to just do that. You wouldn't have to make too much other changes. And we go from there. So I'm gonna stop the recording. And if you guys don't have any other questions,